Like if I do sincerely believe that both men and women are basically doing the very best with what they have. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people think that humans are evil and they're bad for nature and we shouldn't be been created and blah blah blah. I'm like, nah. We were created on this planet to have joy. That's it. That's the whole purpose of life, to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and then practice what works. If that makes
Right.
sense.
And it's like sexual energy is like the root of all of it. It's like if
Yes.
our sexual energy is off, then we do become very destructive and very chaotic and very detrimental to the earth and whatever, all this stuff. It's all due to our sexual energy being perverted or being like just taken off balance or something.
Absolutely. And that burdens women, right?
Mm.
So
So it burdens men and it weakens men, basically.
what? Say that one more time.
So like it burdens women and it weakens men. You're saying
What weakens men?
miss the perverted sexual energy.
Yeah, like ejaculation or men being feminine, really, in my opinion. That
Okay.
like so I look at it in this way, that the goal of humanity should be to unburden women and to put burdens on men's shoulders,
Hmm.
right?
Very interesting. Yeah.
So if women, like let's say for example, if women didn't have to think about money, they didn't have to think about paying the rent, they didn't have to think about security, safety, all those things that women need to have covered before they can start thinking about other people. You know what I mean? Like women don't want to be selfish in that way of thinking about their safety and security, really. Inherently, women want to serve, they want to be there for other people, they want to give and give and give. That's the natural inherent part of women. But when they're burdened, they don't have capacity to take care of anyone else. They only get to think about themselves. And so people then, or guys look at those women and say, well, they're so selfish, and they start blaming instead of asking why. Why is she the way she is? Like, what is happening? What was it that her parents did to her as she grew up? Because she must have had issues that has created this baggage that makes her burdened, that creates the problems, if that makes sense.
That is so profound. Seriously, that is so deep.
So
I think that is so deep because I mean, just thinking about myself, like if I'm being completely honest, like yeah, I don't want to have to worry about paying my rent or paying for bills or anything like that. But I mean,
but you have to.
but I mean, but I mean, at least the men that I notice a lot in American culture, at least. I mean, who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe it's just the men I come in contact with, but I mean, it seems to me that a lot of men also don't want that burden either. Like a lot of the men I know.
Femininity. Femininity.
So you think that's just because they're too feminine, they don't want that burden.
Exactly.
So you as a man, you genuinely want that
Absolutely.
responsibility.
Yes.
You
Give
want
it to me.
that.
All of it. I'm fired up. I'm excited. The reason why is because I've got 10 to 20 times more testosterone than my wife.
So you genuinely want
Fired
to.
up about it. Excited.
I
Seriously.
mean, that's
No,
that's
no.
so
This is
interesting. Yeah.
this is all masculine guys. It's just that you don't see very many masculine guys like in this definition. Because like I had an interview with Richard Harris coaching. He has a YouTube channel as well. Great guy, by the way. Uh and he mentioned to me that he spoke to his girlfriend and he was telling her that, you know what? I was talking to the guys that like I want to go over the mountain. I want to have like a huge backpack that's really heavy and I just want to go out over the mountain and like survive. This sounds like a good fun to me, right? And the his girlfriend's like, Why? Like what? Like this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? But this is what turns men on. Challenge, competitiveness, doing something that gets you out of your comfort zone, that kind of tests you and challenges you to get to the next level. And men are not trained in this. We're not told by our fathers that you should do this. You know what I mean? We're growing up in a society where we're weak. And so
I mean,
we,
I can totally
yeah.
understand that analogy of like climbing a mountain, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, for me, like I love hiking and climbing mountains too, but I don't want to be like lugging all this heavy shit and everything.
Right, right.
But living in day-to-day society and everything, like I think that men also don't want the burden of going to a job they don't like every day, or like going to spend time at work and making all this money just to pay the bills. Like you don't think that men also are put at a disadvantage by having to do things like that? Or what do you think about that?
If they're masculine, really
Mm-hmm.
masculine, they will refuse to go a very long time being someone else's slave.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
if they're really masculine, they're gonna work on the side on their side project, which is a business, because they know that in the long term they're not gonna work 40 years for the man or for someone else, because that's a
Gotcha.
turnoff for women. Women want men to have to be masters of themselves and to lead. That's what turns women on. One of the aspects. And so he must create his own business, because the moment he does that, like the possibilities are endless. And the only reason why he's not able to do it is because of fear.
Gotcha.
Fear is what stops him, and fear is feminine, right? So
And do you think that like, so let's just, I mean, I agree with you a lot, but do you think that a lot of men, like, do you see that as a genuine possibility for a lot of men? Like the men who, like, if every man had their own business, they would still need people working for their business, right? They would
right.
still need other people to work for them who might be men, might be women, but what are your thoughts on all that?
We're not going to get all of them. So let's start with ourselves, right? You
Right,
know,
right.
like I have 400 subscribers on my channel. How about we start with those? You know, go
Yeah.
out there and build your own business. It literally takes 3 to 5 years to get it up and running if you're doing it on the side of a full-time job. And to be honest with you, it's not that big of a deal. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You go bankrupt. Who cares? Start again. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to get started.
Right.
So, so, so that's kind of like, that's my definition of masculinity. To
I
actually,
love it. Really love it. Yeah. And I mean, it really, like, this is all stuff that I have looked into as well, but I haven't had it explained to me like that. So it's super powerful.
Mhm.
And when I think about like my own life, I've always thought that like, cause I, like I've only ever had like multiple part-time jobs, and all of those part-time jobs are things that like most other people might look at and say, oh, well, that's not a real job. Like, oh, like dance teacher or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not like a real job or something.
Okay.
And I've always had this feeling like, I've always had this feeling of like, why is it so freaking hard for me to just spend 40 hours a week at a job? Like, why can't I do that? Like, what is wrong with me? Or why, why does it feel so impossible for me to like buckle down and get to work and like climb the ladder in a job? You know what I'm saying? Like
Because it's not you.
it's not, and
There you go.
I've always felt like, am I just lazy, or like, am I just like, what? Like, what is it? And it's
No,
been like
no.
a,
I think you grew up with a father who loved you very much. You grew up with a mother who sought femininity and who wanted also to teach her daughters that. And if I'm right, I don't know if I'm right. I don't know your background, but I think you just want to be in touch with you, with your femininity and who you actually are. And feminine women do that. And then they go out into the world and they're wondering what's wrong with me. But it's who you are. You're supposed to be like that. Actually, the women who go out there and who are masculine, who are burdened, that's not them. And they end up, the only thing that they do is they compete, and then they drink during the weekends. And they waste all their money, and then they have really bad relationships because they're going to be the opposite. The man is usually feminine if she's masculine. So she's not going to look up to him, and it's going to be like, it's just not worth it for women to discipline themselves and climb that career ladder. In my opinion, that's just my experience from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I never like to make huge generalizations or
I
anything
do
like
them
that.
all the time.
But because obviously I don't want to speak for other women who maybe find a lot of joy in their job and maybe find a lot of value in climbing that career ladder and everything.
Right,
But
right.
if I'm just speaking about myself and my own experience, I don't want to do those things. I when I think about the things I genuinely love to do,
Mm-hmm.
I love to clean the house. I love to make food. I love to cook. I love to like spend my time dancing or whatever. I love to do things to make my surroundings beautiful. I love to do things to like that's genuinely what I want to spend my time doing.
You're gonna have
And
tons of people down below, like, okay, marry me, like all the masculine guys on my channel, they're like, this is like a perfect example of what a woman who's normal feels like. Okay, this is my opinion, because you are somewhat unburdened right now, and you don't have that need to compete, like, because you're feminine. That's kind of how I look at it. And I'm not saying that those masculine women, that's it's something wrong with them. Okay, I'm the only thing I'm saying is they have to maybe ask themselves, what am I sacrificing? Because the other day I made a list of all the billionaires in Norway, and we're talking about Norwegian kroner billionaires. Okay, and there's like 308 of them, and there was one woman who was like top 250, who, and like there's tons of women, but all of them were inheritors, but she was the one woman who had actually done it on her own. And you know what she said? They interviewed her, and then they asked her, so do you regret anything? Like, well, what's the deal there? Because you obviously sacrificed a lot in order to make this happen. And she's like, I probably would not have done it again,
mm,
because I missed out on a lot of things. And if I could choose again, I'd probably chosen to become a doctor. Like, there is no guy that would ever say that if he was a billionaire, ever.
yeah,
But
that's
a
so
wo-
interesting.
but a woman who is a billionaire in Norwegian kroners, she did not get to have a family. She did not have kids. She never was at home. She she got divorced at least once, maybe twice, but it didn't last, because a masculine woman, come on. Like, it's just difficult to get a long-term relationship happening that works. Because
It's
that
so fascinating to hear you
yeah.
talk about that. Like, very, very interesting. Like, I even remember as a kid growing up, I used to think, like, I would look at the guys who I was really attracted to, and
Right.
I would see that they were like very high achievers. They were doing like very physical things. They were doing a lot of things, and I had this idea in my mind, like, oh, I can never live up to that. Like, I could never, like, how am I gonna achieve, like, I used to think that in order to attract a man like that, I had to be like him. Like, I thought that he is only gonna want a woman who can do all the things that he can do, so that we can like keep up with each other or something like that. But now I'm learning that it's not really like that.
Exactly. The thing is that, like, guys who are high achievers don't need you to achieve. Do you understand what I
Interesting.
mean? Like, they are more than willing to provide for you and to provide for any kids that come along if they're high achievers and if they take upon themselves 100% responsibility. That's what masculinity is. Because you, like, I mean, you've got two things. You got 100% responsibility or you've got blame, right? So what's masculine, what's feminine? Usually, if a guy is feminine, he's going to blame. Something happened to me. Something happened to me. Like, it wasn't my fault. It was their fault, or this happened, or whatever. But a guy who's 100% responsible and he takes 100% responsibility for everything in his life, he's going to be like, okay, what did I learn from this? What can I do about it? How am I going to prepare so that this never happens again? That's how he thinks. And so,
I would say though that I feel like it is also important for a woman to achieve as well, but that the goals are just totally different. Like
yeah,
the the things that a man seeks to achieve might be completely different than the things that a woman seeks to achieve. But
absolutely.
because I can also very clearly see that there are women who kind of just like to use a man for his money. Like they'll exploit masculinity in that way where they'll marry a man just to get his money, but not
Right.
really provide anything in return, or like it's
But again,
you know
that comes from, in my opinion, that comes from burden. Uh, I think I think a guy who is masculine, he will actually set boundaries, right?
mm-hmm.
Because a lot of women sometimes they don't want boundaries, but I think the feminine ones do. Like,
Mm.
they actually understand the female psyche because they are a female, and they will understand that I don't want to be without boundaries, because if I'm without boundaries, I'm going to be all over the place. So just set the boundary, let's set it together, right? But this is the boundary and I'm going to stay within it. And it's a huge boundary. So she has place to fly, to roam, to do whatever she wants, but as long as it's within this boundary. So in my relationship with my wife, like, how would that look like? Well, she's in the States right now and I provide her with, X amount of dollars for her to do whatever she wants to do. But she has to stay within that budget. Does that make sense? Now, but I still burden her from the fact that she doesn't have more than enough and to spare. So my responsibility is to increase the income continuously so that she has more and more and more. And so she's always
That's
provided
so
for.
I wouldn't even call that a boundary. To me, that's like a cocoon or something. It's like
It's a bubble. It's like an environment
it's
that
an
is
environment,
conducive
like a
for happiness.
right. It's like because I think sometimes I think the words that people use, they already have an idea in their mind of what that means. It's like, oh, boundary, they think it's like a bad thing or something, instead of seeing it as like, this is your safety net. This is like your environment for you to bloom, for you to thrive in.
Yes.
But
No, but
but
I love how you termed it cocoon, because that's
yeah.
exactly what it is. Because, like, I want my wife to fly, right? I want her to achieve all of her dreams. Like, she can have achievements, but for her, it's not going to be a goal with a deadline. Like, it needs to happen and it's by this time. And it's more like, I just want to serve because I have capacity, and I just want to go out there and help people. And because I know if I help people, they're going to help me back, and it's going to be a positive social interaction. We're going to have fun. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry. We're going to, we're going to have like the social experience. And then we're going to take care of our health. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, for women
That,
to just enjoy that cocoon. That's what I'm
right.
about.
Yeah, I mean, like if it were up to me, like I said, I would spend all my time just like working on the home, like preparing nice meals, doing YouTube and like doing the things that I love to do, but
Yeah.
not but like you said, not with the burden of just like, fuck, am I gonna be able to like make rent this month? Am I gonna be able to buy my groceries this week or whatever, things like that. But
Yeah.
so what would like so understanding all of that though, how do you actually apply that? Like if you're a woman in today's society and you like if you're living in a city, like for me, I'm living in Chicago or whatever, it's like I can't just quit my job. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I need to have a way to support myself, obviously. And so it's like,
Absolutely.
how do you
Absolutely.
navigate that? How do you navigate those things, you know?
Well, first of all, like the goals need to be clear, right? You need to know what you want. So if you know
Mm-hmm.
that in the future, this is what I want, I don't want to work. So the guys that you date with, you got to be very clear up front that this is me. Take it or leave it. I'm looking for this type of guy, and I don't want to work at all. So it sounds like being a gold digger, but to the right guy, I think it actually works, right? Because this worked with me. That's how I know it works. Because my wife, she didn't like one of the first things she told me, she's like, I never want to work a day in my life. And I'm like, yes, awesome. Because I knew that can actually create a family. We can actually create something out of that. And I was fired up about becoming rich, so I knew she didn't have to work. So the past 10 years, the only time she worked was the first 6 months of our marriage when she was pregnant with our first one. Because we get some like benefits in Norway if you actually have worked 6 months before the pregnancy, blah, blah, blah. So, but that's it. The last day she quit, never again. She's never worked a single day of, since then. So that's 9 years ago. And man, I'm so grateful for that. That's helped our relationship massively. So to
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to work, but like I said, at the same time, it's like,
how do you do it? Yeah.
how do you do it?
What I would say
I feel
though,
like I'm in a coaching session with you right now.
no, but hey, I appreciate it. And you're coming with a lot of great stuff as well. It's just that, since we're talking on this subject and I have like strong opinions, then I might as well share it. Um, like I have two channels. I got the Men of High Value channel for men, and then I've got the Girls of High Value channel for women. Usually I talk to teenage girls because I think that it's the transition years is the best time to kind of uh, have for them to have a father figure that talks about serious things online. No one does that. So that's kind of the start to kind of educate oneself on those principles. So if you know what you want, then you can be clear on it. And yeah, maybe over time you'll find some guy on my Men of High Value channel. You never know because if they're the right guy, they're gonna love the stuff that I teach. They're gonna want those types of women, and that's what they're going to attract because they can create those results in their lives because of who they are, the masculine men who actually take charge, 100% responsibility, and create their lives the way they want it.
That's so fascinating. So
So i'm,
fascinating.
I'm
I mean,
actually creating a dating thing, just so you know. That's kind of like what the idea is long term.
really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. Is it gonna be like an app or is it a website or what is that?
Who knows? I have no idea.
Okay.
I just know,
Yeah.
like, if you have 1 million men of high value and 1 million girls of high value, I mean, only good things can come from that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, because I mean, right now, I gotta admit, like, my goal right now is to make money. It's to like
Yeah,
support myself, like make
absolutely.
money so that I
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
do the things that I want to do and have that freedom. But yeah, I guess it's tough when, like, I'm just trying to like visualize right now. Okay, man, if I were to go out with the guy and say those things, I feel like he's gonna like run away or he's gonna feel
You're, you're just being
yeah,
open, you know?
yeah.
Like, I mean, you've been open during this session. Like, I don't know if you tell this regularly to guys that you date, but that's kind of like,
Well, this is new to me. Like all of this stuff that you're saying, it's new to me to feel like that's okay. Like I've always had this idea that like, man, there's something that's missing in me. That's like, there's something missing. Like, why can't I just get a full-time job and put all of my energy and time on it and focus on like climbing that ladder and everything? So I mean, right now, like the purpose of my YouTube channel and all this stuff, it's like I love sharing information, but I also, you know, I'm trying to support myself through it too. And so I have jobs on the side, like whatever, teaching dance classes and doing other stuff. And I've noticed that in the past few years, like since my goal has been the social media stuff, I have taken jobs that don't feel like burdens. Like I realize that I can't succeed and I can't sustain myself in a job that feels like a burden. So when I teach dance classes, I love doing it. That's something I love to do.
There
It's
you go.
fun.
And I'm getting paid for it. Awesome.
Right. So like that stuff, and then you know, whatever. Just like other random part-time jobs, odd jobs like that don't really require a whole lot of like, I don't know. It sounds bad, but like things that don't require a whole lot of drive or something, like just things that I enjoy to do. But
I mean, it's a fantastic way to go about it. And that's what I would recommend for you in that single situation, the way you are right now, is to have jobs that you just enjoy doing, where it doesn't feel like work. Because because that's something you can do long term. You know what I mean? And once you do find that perfect guy, you know, who's coming along, then you actually can just kind of step back a little bit eventually, and because you know it's taken care of. You know what I mean?
And so what would your advice be for men who like, so like if, so right now, like there's a lot of, especially in Chicago, whatever. I mean, I'm sure not just in Chicago, but there's a lot of men out there who have this mentality that they want to feel like they're not being sucked dry of their money, or like what would your advice be for men who feel like they're only attracting gold diggers or things like that? Like what would your advice be to them to learn how to like kind of discern, you know what I'm saying?
Don't show her the money.
Right.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
don't to be honest with you, my wife has no idea how much I make. In fact, she doesn't want to know at all. And I think that actually is a blessing to our relationship, because that means that she doesn't expect more than what than the cocoon she's given. You know what I mean? And because if she knew how much I have, then she would want more, because it's like I was speaking to one of my buddies about this today, actually, where he's like, I was talking about the woman, and if she knows there's a lot of money there, her mind will expand to the point of, that needs to be used, that needs to be spent, and I know exactly what I would spend that money on if I had it, so give it to me. You know what I mean? But if she knows that this is the amount that's here available to me, and that's what she sees, then that's going to be beautiful. So for guys, my advice is, then don't show off. That, like, don't use that. You should make your money, and get that confidence that kind of having money in the background gives you, the extra power, but also the fact that you created that money gives you power, if that makes sense. Like, and then you date, you find the right girl, you ask her dad for permission, right? You do all the I'm all big on tradition. And then if it's right, then you eventually can grow together, and she doesn't know about the money. She has no idea, but she knows she's provided for it. That's what's important.
Very, very interesting. And I guess the only like fear I could see potentially arising from that is, what if the man is a liar? Like what if the man kind of acts like he can provide, but in reality he's in tons of debt, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like how
Yeah, no, I
that's
love
just
this.
something that
and this is why, again, men of high value channel, because those guys, they're gonna be legit. I'm gonna make sure of that. But this is kind of fun because you're from India, right?
Yeah, yeah. Parents are from India, right?
Right. Okay. Because I have a video on my channel, on the Girls of High Value channel, and I called it Arranged Marriage Benefits with the question mark. So I know that this is kind of like a touchy subject because of India, but because that's a lot of the things that happens there. However, I believe in arranged marriages as long as the girl decides who she chooses.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's tons of benefits to arranged marriage. Like I like in like
Right.
the
What's your
Indian
experience there?
culture. Well, I mean, it kind of varies from family to family, like when I think about how things used to be in the past,
Yeah.
the kids had no say over who their partner was going to be. It was all dictated by the parents, and
Bad.
so
Bad. Don't
bad,
recommend that. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, like I have cousins in India who want the arranged marriage
Yeah.
because they trust their parents' judgment, first of all, and because they have the freedom to choose. Like they'll be presented with different people, and it's not like they're being told who to marry. They have a say in it. They can make that decision. And it's interesting because like my grandpa, he's mentioned this to me before, that like how in America the view of love and marriage is so backwards in his opinion, because he says you guys get married for love, but then you divorce later. Over
Yeah.
here, like he's like, over here we understand that marriage is not just about love. It's not about that. So if you get married, understanding that the intention is to um, provide like to create a family, almost like a business transaction in a sense, like
Yeah. A business of joy.
a business of joy, exactly. And so his view is that if you understand that there's a larger purpose for marriage than just besides love, then there's a bigger chance that the marriage will be successful and that you won't see divorce, because there's a different understanding of what marriage is about. But but over here, a lot of people tend to just rely on love, and that's it. And there's no other intention for marriage other than to just be with the person you love. But then when it comes to things like family structure or assets or money or whatever, all these other things, that then those end up being the things that break the marriage up, because those were the things that never were talked about in the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. I completely agree. I'm all for the model of creating a funnel, for the parents and together with the girl to create a funnel of potential guys. Let's say it's like 50 guys or whatever it is when it's time. And then basically cut that funnel down to like a choice of 5 guys or whatever, and she's like, I want that guy. But all of them are suitors. All of them want the girl, but they know they can't have her unless they qualify. Because then for sure he's gonna have money. He's gonna be trustworthy because obviously the rest of the family trusts him, and it's just gonna work a lot better. I don't know. That's kind of my opinion, at least.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting. And it is, like, stuff it can be for a lot of people, but I see the pros and cons to each way of doing things. But overall, I would say that, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but at least in my family over there, they enjoy it. That's something that they like. They like the process of the arranged marriage and everything. And a lot of them choose that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But
it's
I
just
mean,
different.
if the woman finds a guy that the parents didn't know about in India or whatever, and she sees the full picture and the full potential, and they relate on beliefs and values and all that stuff, then it's gonna work no matter what if it's the right guy. But the right guy needs to be chosen. That's like all alpha, omega, ultimate. It has to be chosen the right guy for a woman to have an amazing life. It's
Interesting.
it's critical. So like I really like this session. I think it's fun. We probably
Yeah.
have a lot more to talk about.
I know. I feel like we could talk forever. Seriously.
Yeah.
One last question though. Like if you so like so I used to have this, I mean I still kind of do have this idea that in order for me to attract a man who I want to be with, I'm gonna attract him through my success. Like that's always the idea that I had in my mind, that like that I'm only gonna attract a successful man through my own success, that like I need to be super super successful in order for him to even notice me or whatever, something like that.
Right.
So what's your opinion on that? Like if like how would a woman go about attracting a man like this or something? Would she have to be successful herself, or like what are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I mean, having a YouTube channel probably does work. I mean, you get exposure to no, seriously. You get exposure to a plethora of guys, right? And
Right, sure.
so you end up having a lot of options. Now that could be a bad thing or it could be a good thing. It depends what kind of, your relationships you get into. But if your outlook is I want to find one guy, then you will have a very high standard for yourself, and I think that could work very successfully in this day and age,
Do
right?
you believe like soulmates, or do you believe that there is only one person who was designed to be with this one person, or do you feel like it's people have options and everything?
I actually made my last video was about that on the Girls of High Value channel. It's called Soulmates. What was it? Soulmate miracles do happen, but it is the result of science. So
Okay,
so
interesting.
so what I mean by that is uh like once a woman is in the relationship and she's in the now and she's in love, that is a soulmate. You know what I mean? Like it's scientific in the sense of a woman being turned on by a guy and being attracted to him is scientific. There's nothing else going on. It's not like, oh, this guy was, the universe brought him to me. He might have. Like, I mean, it is possible, but it's scientific why he is like why you're attracted to him.
Hmm. Okay, interesting.
Because it's based on power. Right? I mean, if he has power and he has ability to do, he has confidence, you're going to be immediately attracted and driven towards him. It's just that's how women are built up in my opinion. And so in that sense, soulmates do happen, but it's once you're in the relationship and it's actually working, if that makes sense. So I'm
Okay,
kind of
interesting.
sneakily saying that it doesn't work, but
Yeah, sure.
um but as an example, like me and my wife, it couldn't have been anyone else. Okay?
Hmm.
So that's like I'm so glad that the three girls that I was with before I married her, that they broke up with me, because I would never have broken up with any of them.
Mm, okay.
So because like that I just don't break up with people. And so that girl broke up, great, depart speedily. That girl broke up, great, depart speedily. That girl broke up. I was feminine, remember? And then I'm like, okay, she comes along and then she's like, you know, I don't break up with people. And then I'm like, I don't break up with people. So I guess it's us then. And that's kind of how we figured out we were gonna get married, because we just don't break up with people, and we were already a couple at that time, so it was a done deal.
Gotcha.
So but yeah, that's been my experience, that we feel like soulmates now. But it probably would have worked with the other girls as well. I'm just very grateful that it happened with her, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. I love that. I still believe in soulmates, but I love that too.
No, but you're gonna find him. You're gonna find him. There's your soulmate is out there, and you're gonna
Right.
have that connection.
Right, right.
it's
This was
just
excellent. You are excellent. Yeah, I mean, anyone out there watching this video, you definitely gotta go check out his channel, Men of High Value. Seriously, like you have some really amazing, profound ideas. I learned a lot from this for sure.
well, I appreciate a woman saying this because I mean, of course, any guy would like a woman to say, "Oh, you're really good," but at the same time, like I just talk to guys a lot about this,
Mhm.
so I don't talk to a lot of women about these philosophies, even though I know that most of them are going to agree if they're feminine. But the masculine women are going to be like, no, how can you say that? And, type of thing. But I'm going to work on it. Maybe I'll be able to persuade them too eventually.
Well, I mean, I think that, like I said, I know you like to generalize, but personally, I try to not focus on like anyone else. I'm just trying to focus on me. Like, what do I feel like? And I know that
Yes,
what you say, it rings true for me. Like, whether
exactly.
or not it rings true for other women is like not even a part of my reality. Because it's
Right.
like women can, like, I think that women can do whatever they want to do. Like, if a woman wants to climb that career ladder and it
Go
brings
for
her joy, go for it. But that's not what I want to do.
it. Yeah, and
So
I
yeah.
completely agree with you. I'm a very big guy on freedom. Like I want people to
Mhm.
do whatever it is that they want, and the only thing that I do is I teach principles and I let people govern themselves. That's it. So,
Gotcha. Great. That's really,
yeah.
really great.
Cool. So this I guess this is a pretty good session. We'll probably do it
Yeah,
again
it's turned out to
sometime.
be way longer than I thought, but it was awesome. It
Yeah,
was
I
awesome.
hope your viewers and my viewers liked it. So I'm sure they did.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely got to collaborate again. This was great.
Yeah, let's make. Hey, if you guys want us to collaborate again, then comment down below. I'm sure we're gonna get to a lot of interesting things about men and women. Cool.
Definitely.
All right, I'm gonna close
Definitely.
down now. So see you later.
Cool.